Alright, in the last video we showed that these limits were true, and in particular we had these two limits here at the bottom. And so the idea with this video is we want to find the derivative of the sine of x and the cosine of x. Okay, and so let me pause for a moment. Okay, I just wrote down an identity for the sum of the sine of the sum of some angles, and so that's going to be useful. So let's take a quick tour then into the derivative of the sine, and so we'll just take f prime of x will be the limit as h goes to 0, the sine of x plus h minus the sine of x divided by h. Now, I'm not going to expect you to reproduce this, but it's useful, I think, just to see it. So now we're going to use this formula that we just wrote down and substitute things in. And so when we do that, we get the sine of x cosine of h plus the cosine of x sine of h, and then minus sine of x, all divided by h. And now there's a couple of terms in here with the sine of x and one with the cosine, and so let's go ahead and break that fraction apart. So I can take out the sine of x here, and I'll be left with cosine of h minus 1, I'm getting sloppy there, divided by h. And then on this side I'll have a cosine of x that I can pop out here, and then I'll have a sine of h over h. Good. And now you see why we looked at those two limits in the last problem here. We have the sine of x. This limit right here we said was equal to 0, and this limit right here is equal to 1. So therefore we get sine of x times 0 plus cosine of x times 1, and so the derivative of the sine is, drumroll please, cosine. Very good. So again, if f of x is the sine of x, f prime of x is cosine of x. Now we could have shown that graphically as well, right? So let's just take a quick look. Here's my sine function, and so right underneath of it I'm going to draw the derivative. Okay, and so the derivative here is 0, here is 0, so let's put those zeros in here. Right, and then here's 0 as well. Notice here the derivative is 1, so that's going to be the maximum there. Here it's minus 1, so it's going to come down here. And I think we see the graph coming out. Good, so that is the cosine function. Good. So again, the top graph is the sine of x, bottom graph is cosine of x, and which is the derivative. Good. Now, what is the derivative of cosine? We can just keep going here. So if I want the derivative of the cosine, well, let me get a different pen here, green. So let's go across there. That's 0. That's going to be 0 for the derivative. That's 0 for the derivative. This is like negative 1. Right, that's positive 1 there. And so you see here what's happening. So that's not the sine function itself, right? This is the minus sine function. Okay, and so what we've just seen here then is that the derivative, if f of x is the cosine of x, then f prime of x is minus the sine of x. Good. And so we can summarize that in our table. So sine of x again is cosine of x, and cosine of x is minus the sine of x. Good. So those are the derivatives of sine and cosine.